Welcome to Center Ice, the Hockey Alberta podcast, home to all things hockey in our great province. Now, here's your host, Ted Emmett.
Hello again, and welcome to episode 11 of the Center Ice podcast. I'm your host, Ted Emmett. Happy to be back with you once again. Now, we've kept things light the last couple of episodes and really have just shone a light on some great Alberta success stories, and we're going to continue to do so. Last episode, we took a trip off the ice up to the broadcast booth with Ron McLean and Bob Ridley, two absolute legends. And this episode, we're back on the ice, but focusing on members of what is essentially the third team taking part in our game, officials. So we'll hear from two of Alberta's most accomplished officials, Lacey Senuk and Kyle Rehman. But to change things up a bit, you won't actually be hearing from me too much this episode. If you listen to episode 10, I mentioned that we had a SAIT radio student, Tyler Coffey, who is spending the month with us for his practicum. And since he did such a great job editing that episode, and as a graduation gift as well, he actually conducted both interviews. So not only am I excited to really just get to put my feet up this episode, but also for Tyler to make his Center Ice podcast debut. So without any further ado, let's get to our first guest.
Now with us is one of Canada's top officials. She's officiated events like the Women's World Championships, the Four Nations Cup, and the CIS National Championship. Lacey Senuk has accomplished a lot as an official. She has done well in her profession, having officiated a variety of levels. However, Lacey does have Alberta roots, being from St. Albert. She's a level 5 official and was named Hockey Alberta's Official of the Year back in 2019. We are thrilled to have her on. Thank you so much for joining us, Lacey.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to share any of my experiences that I've had.
So Lacey, you no doubt have had a variety of experiences, I'm sure, in the game, both as an official and as a player. So how did you initially get involved in playing the game, and how did that kind of lead in you becoming an official?
So I grew up in small town Alberta. Wasn't a lot to do, so obviously started playing hockey. I started with the boys, played with them until I guess it was Pee Wee or Bantam. And then I played a year of women's hockey before then I went out to Saskatchewan and kept playing. I did 4 years out there. So, and then when I kind of finished in high school, I kind of went, I'm kind of done with hockey, and took a step back, and then kind of got drugged back into it because you can never fully step away from it, I don't think. And so I started playing recreational hockey, and a bunch of the girls on the team that I played with, they were officials, and you should come out and do this. I think you'd be really good at it. So I kind of gave it a go, and that's kind of what started my officiating journey. So
that's crazy how it's sometimes just those connections like that just gets you so involved in it, right? And ends up kind of becoming your life to an aspect.
Yeah.
When I was doing some research on you, I noticed, and I think you kind of mentioned it there, that you went out to Saskatchewan for a few years and played at Notre Dame, I believe. What was that experience like, and how did that alter your path as a player and soon after an official?
I mean, going to Notre Dame is an experience of itself. I did 4 years out there. So I went out when I was 14 years old. So, nice young age. But the thing that's great about Notre Dame is, they're definitely a hockey hotbed, and they, produce a lot of excellent hockey players, but they also teach you a lot of life skills. And academics are just as important as hockey is. And, obviously I learned a ton, both about life and about hockey while I was there. And definitely, a lot of the successes that I've had, I can definitely attribute back to Notre Dame. Proud to say that I'm a 4-year hound, and it's kind of neat because you run into people all over the place that are like, hey, you went to Notre Dame? Yeah, I went to Notre Dame. Hey, do you know so-and-so? And it's like, yeah, I know so-and-so. Is so-and-so still there? So, it's a small world. And I mean, the hockey world is a small world to begin with. And then, when you take something like Notre Dame, it's an even smaller world, right? I mean, there's so many connections around the world that it's really neat. But, I am very thankful that I was able to go out there for 4 years and play hockey, and as well get an education and everything else. I got to experience other sports as well, which is great, right? I mean, it wasn't just solely out there for hockey. I mean, I played soccer, I played volleyball, I played basketball. I got into rugby, which probably had I not gone out there, I never would have got into rugby. So it's kind of neat how, it develops you as a person, a well-rounded person. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it kind of like moving away at a young age like that, to going from St. Albert to kind of rural Saskatchewan? What was that like?
Well, so I wasn't living in St. Albert at the time. I was actually living in Grand Cache, so small town, but going from essentially the mountains to the prairies, very different. But I was pretty fortunate because my sister, who's 2 years older than me, she was actually out there already. So I at least had some family out there, and my sister was there, so she kind of helped me along for the first 2 years, and then was kind of like, "Okay, kid, you're on your own." And she graduated and off she went, but. Even though my sister was there, it was still, we lived very separate lives. It wasn't like I was depending on her, but it was nice to know that if I needed somebody that she was there. But it's hard at 14 to move away. But I think because I had an older sibling there, it made it just a little bit easier. And then while I was out there, actually, my parents ended up moving to the city. So, the opportunity to continue to go to school out there or to go to a school in the city was there. And I just said, no, like all my friends are out there. So I'm going to stay going to Saskatchewan. So never thought I would say that, but I was like, yeah, I'll do 4 years in Saskatchewan. Why not? So.
Yeah. And you kind of even said it though. It's one of those things, right? Like you see people everywhere, and that I'd say that Notre Dame red is kind of like iconic in hockey, right? You go to the rink and you see the kid with the red gloves or the red helmet, normally where they're from. So we know you kind of have small town roots. What does that kind of mean to you, whether it's, going back to Notre Dame or Grand Cache or St. Albert? What has that kind of meant to your kind of journey as both a player and as an official?
It's kind of, Grand Cache is always going to be home for me. I was born and raised there. I lived there for, 14 years or 16 years, however you want to look at it. But that small town, you can't beat a small town. Everyone knows everyone. And it's kind of that cliche. Everyone knows everyone's business, right? But it's because of those small communities and those small towns that it develops you as a person. The saying, it takes an entire village to raise a child. It's kind of like that, right? When you get into those small towns, like, you grow up with your best friend and their parents are giving you just as much trouble as your parents are, right? Because it's like you're in a small town and you're kind of treated like that. And when you go to Notre Dame, it's kind of the same with the staff, right? Because the staff are kind of your role models, your parents, so to speak. So it's the same thing there, like with the small town. And all 20 staff members, all 40 staff members, however many staff, they basically become your mom and dad. And you're like, I don't like dad today. I'm going to go to mom, right? So it's kind of the same thing. But, I'm definitely appreciative that I did grow up in a small town and I had the support of a small town. And even today, I know with a lot of the accomplishments that I've had and the different events that I've gone to. And my sister is fantastic at Facebook and she posts stuff all the time. And, the comments, she'll share the comments with me because I'm not on Facebook. So she'll share the comments with me. And it's a lot of people that, either I grew up with or parents or, things like that. So it's kind of neat to see. And, I'm pretty proud to say that I'm from Grand Cache and now that I don't live there anymore, but there's still a lot of people that still live there that have definitely helped me along the way. So.
I'm sure you kind of talked a bit about it there, about how you've had a variety of experiences and covered multiple events. Do you have a favorite memory as an official, or is that too hard to pinpoint?
There's been a lot of great memories, a lot of great experiences. I've been pretty fortunate at, the events that I've gone to. Obviously the first event I ever went to was my first year as an official, was SO Cup down in Calgary. So the inaugural year that they transitioned SO Cup to the midget age group. So, that was pretty memorable being in my first year. My first international event, going to China, as a linesman, and I wasn't really a linesman at home in Alberta here. So, that was neat. But obviously the gold medal game in Worlds in Finland in 2019, memorable for so many different reasons. Granted, it was the first time that it wasn't Canada, USA in the final. What a lot of people don't know is as a Canadian official, you don't skate Canada. So if Canada's in the game, you're not skating that game, right? So, it was very memorable to be able to go and skate that game. And then with all the controversy that happened, obviously that's another memory all on its own, right? But that's to me will probably always stand out as a very special moment, being able to skate that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's something a lot of people kind of forget of, right? Is, everyone just thinks of Canada and US as these typical hockey powers, but you don't really consider it from an official standpoint where, maybe they don't really get the opportunity to call that gold medal game because Canada's in the gold medal game every time around, right? So it's definitely not the easiest thing with that. Do you have a sort of an ultimate goal as an official, or do you kind of feel like you've already achieved that with some of the milestones in your career?
Well, I mean, obviously, I've always said the pipe dream is the Olympics. I would definitely love to go, whether, it's 2022 or maybe, 2024 or 26. Definitely not a spring chicken anymore, but, definitely the Olympics is the pipe dream. My ultimate goal when I started was a women's worlds, and I got there. Kind of got there 3 times, but 2 of them have been canceled. So, that's unfortunate, but, there's always something more to reach for. Last year I started skating Alberta Junior Hockey League. So the AJ, which, it's been a fantastic opportunity for me, and I'm very thankful for it. And, I can kind of keep progressing on the male side as well, which is nice. Obviously, like, a male tournament isn't in the books just because of how it works, but if I can keep progressing, that's kind of what I want to do. But yeah, pipe dream is definitely the Olympics.
So with that being said, what would working an event like, say, obviously Beijing in 2022 kind of mean to you?
I think it would be pretty remarkable, and I think it would lead you, obviously, it'd be myself, but for also the different associations that I'm involved with, right? So Hockey Canada, Hockey Alberta, I owe a lot to St. Albert Minor Hockey and the support that I've gotten from there. So, it would be an honor to get there and to work some games in Beijing if that was the case. And I just keep working hard every day and hope that I get there. So.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to know what everything's kind of going to look like at that time too, right? It's hard to predict the future these days.
It is, yeah.
Now, kind of going back to your Alberta roots and playing minor hockey, is there a favorite memory of your time playing minor hockey that you have, or that kind of made you think getting involved as an official, or was it just kind of seeing your friends kind of do it that kind of was the timing for you?
It's funny because the 1 year I think I had more penalty minutes than our leading scorer had points. And I think that was when I was out at Notre Dame, even, like, it was kind of like, I'm like, ooh, I need to change that. Right. But I think I've always been like the type of player where, if the linesman's standing at the blue line, I'll chat him up, right? It's like, hey, how's it going? Right. It's just, kind of get on their good side, and then maybe you get a call your way. Right. So, but at the same time, I've, come completely undone on an official before too. Right. So, but favorite memories, minor hockey, geez. I don't even know if I have one. Like, I feel like it's been forever since I picked up a stick and actually played. Obviously, when I was out at Notre Dame, we won the Western Shield a few times. I think we actually, when I was out there, the 4 years I was out there, we didn't make it 1 year. We won the gold, we won the silver, and we won a bronze. We kind of hit all 4 places there the 4 years I was out there. But tons of good memories, just the bus trips, the road trips, the hotels and different things like that. I don't know if I would necessarily say I have a favorite memory, just because, like I said, it's been a while, but I don't think I have a favorite.
You kind of talked a bit about it there, Lacey. Do you still actually play at all, or has officiating kind of taken that away from you?
It's not even that it's necessarily taken away from me. The first couple of years I did play in ref at the same time, and it was kind of like, yeah, okay, it's okay. But then it was like, it got to the point where I was like, I'm enjoying officiating more than I am playing. So, then I was committing more to officiating than playing. And then I got to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I don't think I should play anymore. Like, I think I want to focus on officiating. And I made that decision. I think it was 2 or 3 years after I started reffing. So, and now it's like, I pick up a stick every now and again. And, I used to play shinny in the summer when we were able to before COVID, just to kind of stay on the ice and stay skating and stuff like that. But the last time I played an organized game, couldn't even tell you.
It's funny how that works out sometimes. I'm sure the news of the women's worlds being canceled was a tough disappointment for you. How has the last 14 months been for you, both as a human and as an official? And are there any kind of challenges you've had to overcome during these times?
Obviously the 2 cancellations, last year, you kind of saw it coming, with the pandemic and there's so many unknowns with it. And, how are you going to expect to have 10 teams from around the world travel in and it be safe? And, Europe was complete outbreak and, things like that. So, last year's cancellation as an official, it was disheartening, but you kind of saw it coming just because of where the world was at with the pandemic. This year was, a complete shock, definitely a lot of disappointment, considering, everything that's gone into it beforehand, and the fact that they've been successful, World Juniors was successful in Edmonton. The under 18s are happening right now down in Texas, right? So, there is success to hold it in a bubble and stuff. So it is unfortunate that the government made the decision. But I have full belief that between the IHF and Hockey Canada, they will make it right and they will play it at some point. But it's definitely been tough the last, 14 months with the pandemic and not having regular hockey. But at the same time, it's kind of been nice because I've been able to focus more on my off ice, which, during a season you don't get because it's like, you're skating 3-4 nights a week kind of thing. Right. So it's been good in that regard. But when the cancellation happened this time around, it's like, you kind of felt like you got kicked for a day and then when's the next call going to happen? When's the next tournament going to be? You need to be ready for it. You can't just take, I'm going to take a month off, or I'm going to take, 3 months off. And then, Worlds is coming up. I guess I would need to get in shape. So it's, right back into training for me and kind of back to, a normal off season. I was able to skate a little bit this winter, which was nice. In Alberta, we did have some hockey in the fall between under 18 triple and junior A. And then this spring, junior A was back for a bit. So I did skate a little bit there too. So it wasn't a normal winter by any stretch, but it was still nice to be able to touch the ice. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of something people forget about, right? Is that, everyone always thinks about that player staying fit, but the officials have to stay fit and prepared to call that elite level hockey too, right? You can't just hop out on the ice and, it doesn't quite work like that. So what would a normal year of officiating look like for you in comparison to this season? And how has that made it challenging for you to stay sharp as an official?
A normal year is typically, just because with my work, I'm usually skating Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I usually can't do too much during the week because in a pre-pandemic, I do travel for work. So it's kind of tough to necessarily, be like, I can skate a Tuesday night. Oh, wait, no, I can't. I'm in Vancouver or I'm in Moncton or something. So, most of my hockey was on the weekends. You did more training during the week and you skated on the weekends. But with no hockey happening or very little hockey happening, it was like, what do I do with myself? Like I have a Friday night, I have all day Saturday, I have all day Sunday. I'm like, oh boy, this is like, I might get bored, right? Like it was definitely an adjustment. But at the same time, I'm also a full-time university student, so I was able to focus more on my studies. So, that helped with the pandemic, but it was definitely tough. I remember, in the fall when we went back, it was kind of like a typical fall going back, you kind of ease into it and away you go. The players aren't necessarily as sharp. You're still not as sharp. But when I went back in March, when we started playing again with AJ, it was like, you kind of like, I caught myself a few times. I'm just like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to do something here. Right. And you kind of, because you haven't been doing it all winter, it's been more than just, a 3 or 4 month break of the summer and stuff. And you realize that you're like, wow, like, it's kind of like muscle memory. Like, when you do it so often, you know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden it's like, you have a fight and you're like, you stop and you're watching the fight. And you're like, wait a second, I need to be directing traffic and getting these players out of here. I'm like, what am I doing? Right. So just little things like that. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenge, but you kind of just roll with the punches at this point.
Yeah. And I'm sure, you've officiated so long. I'm sure you get back in the groove of it after a certain amount of time. Right. But it's definitely a little challenging, I'm sure, at the start.
It is for sure.
As I can tell, you've traveled quite a bit through your international officiating experiences. Do you have a favorite place you've been to during your time as an official? And to kind of follow up on that one, favorite venue you've gotten to officiate in?
Favorite place. I really enjoyed Italy. I was in Italy in 2016 for an event. I've been to Italy before and I've always fallen in love with it, every time. So that one, Italy is always, a favorite. Favorite venue. I mean, I did Canada, USA in Edmonton at Rogers in December, the 1 year before the Olympics. And I mean, like, that was wild. It was almost a complete sellout. I mean, I think there was like 17,500 people in there. And I mean, that was probably like the favorite, memory for sure, the favorite venue. I mean, between Edmonton and Hockey Canada, they did a really good job there. But yeah, I mean, there's been some really great places I've skated, and there's been some others that you're like, I mean, I was in Malaysia 1 year, of all places, Malaysia for an event, and we had to keep stopping the game because there was so much fog being built up on the ice. So it's like it got to the point where you couldn't even see across the ice, never mind down the ice. So it's like we'd have to stop, let the fog settle, and then we keep playing. So, lots of really great and neat experiences like that for sure. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure some unique venues, right? Whether it's, like you said, in Italy or Malaysia. And I even believe you officiated a bit in Mexico City, it looked like, too, which is, again, I'm sure the venues have to be extremely different than what we're used to here.
Yeah, so Mexico City actually got to the point where we couldn't even do like a full flood in between periods because the ice wasn't freezing fast enough, and there would be like small ponds out there.
I really appreciate your time, and you've been able to sit down with us. You're truly one of the best officials our country has to offer, and it's been an absolute pleasure for me. So thanks again for doing this and all you continue to do for our game and all across the world.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for having me, and I hope I was able to share something. So
we really appreciate it, Lacey. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you bet. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
A huge thank you again to Lacey Senuk for sitting down with Tyler for that one. An incredibly accomplished official with a huge passion for the game. Unfortunately, a couple internet issues on that one, but hey, that's just the world we're living in. And before we hear from NHL official Kyle Rehman, as always at this point in the show, it's time to take a look at what's going on around Alberta. So here's what you need to know. Hockey Alberta's Coach of the Month program, sponsored by Players Bench Team Apparel, wrapped up at the end of April as we recognized 4 outstanding coaches from around Alberta. So congratulations to Canadian Athletic Club U15 AAA coach Lee Zalaski, St. Albert U13 Tier 1 Chargers coach Derek McEwen, Paradise Valley U11 and U15 coach Tracy Desmarais. Apologies if I butchered your name at all there. And Fort McMurray U13 AA Junior Oil Barons coach Brad McCoy. All 4 coaches were selected based on nominations submitted by the public, and each received a Players Bench coaching package valued at over $500. To read more about all 4 coaches, head to hockeyalberta.ca. We also celebrated National Volunteer Week in April, as volunteers really are the lifeblood of Hockey Alberta, and we can't do what we do without them. So we featured just a handful of the amazing volunteers from across Alberta who keep hockey going in our province.
But what volunteering means to me is you give what you can. And if it's time, if it's your knowledge, if it's money, whatever it happens to be, that's what you give. And you give back to the people who need it. And I'm a huge believer that young kids, they need guidance, not just from parents or teachers, but they need it from coaches and other mentors outside in the world. And it's kind of like an honor to be one of those people that gets to jump in and do that. And again, it's what I was able to do, and it found a passion in it.
So rewarding. I mean, watching kids grow, making lots of new friends, parents, other coaches, and it's pretty cool, like learning experience overall. Honing your people skills. There's a lot of that in hockey. I always say that's probably just about job number 1 in coaching is there's a lot of people skills. Volunteering it's a great learning experience for anybody. That's what I would say.
And I had a lot of people help me along the way, so I figured I owed that to kids to teach and share some of my stories and be able to give them some of the points that I have that I feel that further their hockey career. And not only that, to me, it's about life.
Volunteering for me is the opportunity to do what I absolutely love, which is athletic therapy, and use that to help others reach their goals. I had lots of people when I was still in school who took that extra time to kind of mentor me and make sure that I felt comfortable doing and learning what I was. To be able to be that person for other people is my goal.
Volunteering to me is a way to give back. I enjoy seeing the operation and the opportunity to guide and grow whether it's somebody my own age or in hockey case, it's somebody younger, and to watch them grow and develop as a person and a player and expand their knowledge and improve their skill set.
Volunteering is a sense of community. You get to meet new people, you get to network, you get to learn new skills. It makes me happy. I think it boils down to how I was raised with my parents. They were big volunteers in their community, and it's just in me to give back.
Again, thank you to the volunteers who took the time to share their stories with us. Lisa Davies, Tom West, Michelle Skilnick, Stephen Janet Fleming, Brenda Dick, Kevin Kurlick, Tom O'Toole, Chris Williams, Karen Fanstone, and Tony Jacobson. For all of our Volunteer Week features, head to hockeyalberta.ca/volunteers. And lastly, in the spirit of keeping things light, if you're looking for something to put a smile on your face, and I mean, who isn't these days? Check out our most recent Hockey for Life feature on Beckett William, a 10-year-old goaltender, actor, and radio host from Strathcona. That's right, actor and radio host. Beckett is currently the youngest solo radio host in Canada with his online radio show, Breakfast with Beckett.
Hockey for Life. Hockey Alberta.
So my name is Beckett. I am 10 years old and I am on the Strathcona Warriors. My grandpa was a hockey player, so I wanted to skate like him, so I started skating, and then we got me a stick, and then I just started playing hockey. Well, there's this one save I made where I slid over to the right. I saved it on my pad. I kicked it to the left, not trying to. I was like trying to stop it so I could cover it. And then it went over to the left, and I slid over and I saved it, and then I covered it up with my glove. Well, because I get to meet great people and friends on the team, and it's just fun getting pucks in my chest. Like in hockey, working with a team kind of helped me with acting. Well, actually did help me with acting, because you would have a bigger team than hockey, because you had the cameraman, the makeup person, the director, producers and stuff, so the other actors and casting members. So like it kind of taught you how to work with a group of people. And then if you kept going on different teams, you can meet new people, and you would realize that every time, like if you had a big party, that would be a lot of people, and then you could like, for acting, there's a lot of people there, so you kind of get used to it. Well, this is hopefully happening. I'm not planning on it, but I'm hoping it happens. Like be in like a big movie like Batman or Spider-Man or like Jurassic World or something like that, and big TV shows, or like be on like Mighty Ducks or something, that TV show. I would pick acting, and then I would do hockey as a recreational thing. So like if I was ever in the middle between like no auditions, I would maybe have a backyard rink and I could go skating on it, and me and my friends or something, we could set up games and stuff. I'm an actor and I'm a goalie on both.
Hockey for Life. Hockey Alberta.
Pretty amazing to see what Beckett has on the go, which is pretty impressive for anyone, let alone a 10-year-old. And that's what you need to know. As always, head to hockeyalberta.ca to stay in the loop. And with that, I'll throw it back to Tyler and his interview with NHL official Kyle Rehman.
Here with us today is another one of the best officials our province has to offer. From officiating the iconic Memorial Cup to calling games in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he has done just about it all. He was also the WHL's Official of the Year back in 2006. He's Red Deer's own Kyle Rehman. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, no doubt. And so when I was doing some research on you, Kyle, I kind of noticed that you played at the junior B level. First off, what was that experience like, and how did that lead into you becoming an official?
You know what? It was a great way to wrap up my career. Obviously, I have a huge passion for hockey. Back to as early as I could walk, I had a stick in my hand, and my parents always said that I, always was watching hockey, playing hockey, eat, sleep, breathe hockey. So obviously, it's something that I love, and I'm very fortunate that I'm still doing it. But to finish up playing junior B in Red Deer was great. You got to play with a lot of buddies that you kind of grew up playing with. I moved around with my family. We lived in Winnipeg for a while, and then we came back. So it was kind of just a good way to wrap up my playing days, I guess you could say. And listen, I knew that, when I was playing junior B, and a lot of the guys that I played with growing up, the guys that moved on to the Western League, and like Brad Leaves and a lot of those guys, they kind of moved on, and I knew I kind of was plateaued. So and that's fine. I mean, everyone can't get there. So a couple of guys out of Red, Dave Musso and Curtis Nichols, who were they were in charge of the officiating program there. They asked me if I would kind of like involved. I guess I kind of was a little bit like a Brad Marchand. So I knew how to play, on the edge. I kind of knew how to get away with things as a player. And they saw that maybe that would, make me be a good official. And at first I wanted no part of it because I didn't like officials when I played. But then I knew I wanted to stay involved in the game, and I took them up on their offer and did some officiating in Sylvan Lake at the hockey school this summer, and instantly fell in love with it. So I signed up that fall. I went to my clinic, and now the story's kind of writing itself. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you never really had planned on it at first, Kyle? It kind of just happened with the conversation?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I was finishing up my junior B hockey playing career in Red Deer, playing with my buddies, and they asked me to get involved. And at first, like I said, I didn't want nothing to do with it. And then I took them up on it. And like I said, I wanted to always stay involved. I have my teaching degree, and I was hoping to, planning to go the coaching route in terms of one of the hockey academies. But fell in love with the officiating side and just had some opportunities along the way and kept in the most of them, I guess you could say. And now I'm in the National League. So it's definitely a plan that I never thought that I would, end up here, but I'm sure glad I'm here now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So we know you're from Red Deer, Kyle. What does having those Alberta roots mean to you? And do you still have a connection to the community there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I take great pride in being, from an Albertan and being an Alberta boy. And, even when I see guys and the NHL that I know from Alberta, you go by and, give them a little love. That's how we are. It's just, you take care of your own, and in terms of just asking them how they're doing. And they're great to me too. The guys that I know that I kind of came through the system with, we always kind of have a quick talk. Like the other day I saw Colton Sevier, and I just kind of asked him how he was doing and said hi. And, we just kind of talked about quickly during a timeout if we were both going to be able to go back to Red Deer this summer, just because of all the craziness going on in the world. And, we were both unsure if that was going to be possible just with the pandemic and the border closures and stuff. But so, yeah, whenever you see guys from Alberta, you say hi to them. And, but obviously, yeah, take great pride of being from Alberta and being a part of Hockey Alberta's program. And anytime I can give back, I always make sure I do when I can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So how did your time officiating in Alberta help groom and prepare you for the National Hockey League?
I was very fortunate. I didn't start officiating, like I said, till I was, at the end of my junior career. So they kind of said, we're going to throw you in the deep end of the pool, and you're either going to sink or swim. And they were patient with me. They knew that there was going to be some major learning curves, but I had great people that worked with me. They understood that there was going to be some hiccups or bumps, but I'm forever grateful for them, because I think, if I would have maybe had to go down the other road, maybe I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And they gave me an opportunity. I mean, I made the most of it, but I'm forever thankful for the opportunities I was given in Hockey Alberta.
So through the many years that you've spent and the time officiating that you've spent on the road, I'm sure you have some unique memories and stories. Do you have a favorite memory as an official you've had on the road? It could be with your colleagues or, just anything at the rink or anything like that.
Yeah, you know what? The cool thing about this job is you get to meet a lot of cool people that have a lot of interesting backgrounds in terms of what they do for us. For example, I'm in New York right now, and one of our security guys here, he's really high up in the NYPD, and he's kind of a legend here, and he's seen a lot of things. He was actually he was in charge of the morgue at the 9/11. So he's got some pretty crazy stories about that. But I was very fortunate one year to be here for New Year's, and so I had my fiance at the time. she came, and we got to go, and he took care of us for New Year's. So we got what he says. He said, show up at this restaurant, and we went to this restaurant, down in Times Square, and we sat there and had dinner, and I waited for the bill. We didn't get a bill, which was kind of crazy. And he said, I'll be there at 11 o'clock. And there he was at 11 o'clock. He showed up, and he walked us, and we walked like right by, like shoulder to shoulder, like Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber. Like it was, and everyone was like, hey Gene, like he was a celebrity. And so we got to walk like right past all these people that have been there all day lining up. And we were probably, 50 yards from the ball drop, and we got to experience New Year's in New York City. So that was cool. And I mean, it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Gene. So we're always grateful for that. And there's lots of different stories in different cities. Like I said, we get to see some pretty cool cities. Got to see some cool concerts, and go backstage and stuff like that, which has been really cool. And it's one of the extra experiences you get in this job is we get to be on the ice with the best players in the world and see the game, but we also get to do some cool things away from the rink too.
Yeah, to have an experience like that, that's amazing. And to follow up on that last question, kind of a little bit different, but do you have a most memorable game or a tournament that you've gotten to officiate and or be a part of?
There's lots of different ones. I can remember. I remember the Memorial Cup in Moncton. I remember skating around, and it was Moncton versus Quebec, so it was a huge game. They were a huge rival. Obviously, the hometown Moncton Wildcats were playing their big nemesis in the finals. And I remember skating around the ice, and I don't really ever look into the crowd. It's something I guess I just never do. But I just remember skating around in the pregame warmup and thinking like, holy man, this is like the last game of like, there's no more games in junior hockey after this. And as I was thinking that, I was kind of coming around the net and looking, and I looked up, and I don't know how I did it, but I saw my parents. And that was pretty cool because obviously they've been big supporters of mine. And so it was pretty cool for that. I remember a playoff game I did in Calgary a couple of years ago. That was the first playoff game my family got to go to. My dad's a quadriplegic. He had a bad accident, so he can't really travel anymore. So for him to be able to go to a game and see me in the playoffs, because he's my biggest fan. He's always watching my games. So to have that experience for him to be able to come to a playoff game was pretty cool. My kids, they've been fortunate to come to. They love going to watch games in Vegas. Vegas they do a great job there of promoting not only hockey but entertainment. Like they just have found a perfect fit between how much entertainment value and how much of the hockey, and they've done it great there. My wife and I, we take a trip every year to New York. She loves coming to New York, so. We always look forward to that every year when it fits in with my schedule. So lots of different memories, and I'm grateful for every single one of them.
So Kyle, do you think it's kind of you talked a little bit about it there. Do you think it's a superstition as to why you don't look up into the stands, or is it a nerves thing, or what do you kind of think about that? Because,
you know what, like, I just think it's my job's on the ice, and I guess I just try to stay focused on the ice. I use a thing from an old For the Love of the Game with Kevin Costner when he says clear the mechanism, and he's on the mound in New York. I kind of do the same thing. And once we get ready for the game, I just kind of do the same thing. I go in game mode, and my job is on the ice. So I just focus on that.
That's a fantastic way of looking at it, and kind of blocking out all the surroundings, I guess, too, right? And just worry about what's going to happen on the ice for the next 3 hours or whatever, right? So
for sure.
Although you've done lots throughout your career officiating games like the Outdoor Classic and NHL playoff games, would you say you have some sort of ultimate goal as an official, or do you already kind of feel like you've achieved that being in the NHL?
Oh, no. I mean, I think just like all of our guys on staff, the goal is to work the Stanley Cup Finals. And to be honest, if you don't work the finals, which I know is tough, there's only 5 guys that do it every year, 5 refs and 5 linesmen. So, out of our 34 guys on the refs and the linesmen, there's going to be a lot of guys that are disappointed. And but that's what makes our staff so good, is we all want to compete. We're teammates first and foremost, but we compete together, and we're happy for the 5 guys that get selected every year. And for the rest of us, we want to work harder that off season to try to get to where they are. So ultimately, the goal is to work the Stanley Cup Finals, and I'm going to do everything I can to get there.
That's a great response, and I think that should be everyone's goal, right? Especially in your profession. So, how has the past year been different for you, both as an official on and off the ice? And has it been tough or any sort of hidden positives that you've been able to pull from it or anything like that?
It has been tough. It's been different. I got to give the league credit. I mean, we're very, first of all, we're thankful that we're playing hockey, and because there's a lot of people that in the world that have been affected more than we have. We have policies in place, and it's we're in our hotel rooms a lot more. We can't go for lunch with the guys. We can't go for dinner after with the guys. But these are all things that need to be. We need these in place so that we can keep everybody safe and keep the game going. So, it's been different. It's nice in the U.S. We're starting to get more and more fans back in the rinks, and even having just 3,000 or 5,000, or some of them are now going up to 8,000. Hoping to be by half capacity by playoffs. It's night and day. Like, I remember stepping onto the ice last year for my first game in the bubble in the playoffs, and I still think one of the coolest things about officiating is that 5-minute build up to before you go on the ice before a game. And, you get excited and we're talking in the room, and before we, you're walking down the tunnel and you just come out and the lights are down and the crowd's going bananas. And that first game in the bubble in Toronto, like I was saying, you go out and it's dead silent. And it was probably one of the weirdest, most eerie feelings I've ever had stepping onto the ice. So it's great to have the fans back in the building. I mean, obviously I think we have the best fans. Just the passion and the knowledge, and so it's great. But you know what? I'll look forward to next year when I can go for breakfast with my teammates and talk to them. Go for lunch with them and see them after, because there's a lot of time you're in your hotel room, but I'm trying to make the most of it. And like I said, it's what needs to happen to keep the game going, and that's first and foremost.
So what would you say you've kind of done to make the most of it, Kyle? Because I'm sure you've a bit more downtime than in years past on your own and that kind of thing, just not being able to interact as much. What have you kind of done to pass your tenure alone and that kind of thing during the past year?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I've encouraged, first and foremost, what I like to do is I like to reach out to a teammate. I make sure I do it every day. Just talk to a guy, either through phone or text, and just check in and say, how are you doing? Because it's mentally been tough. So looking out for teammates, that's one thing I take pride in doing. And I always make sure we do a lot of Zooms with our guys, because can't really have, at our lunchtime is usually when we do a lot of our, what's going to happen, or what we're talking about the night planning and preparing. So we do a lot of Zooms. So do that. And then also, took an online course just to kind of kill time, and also, help me become a better person. So I've got this time, I might as well make the most. That's what I've done.
Well, yeah. And it's pretty different, right? Yeah, I don't think any other year in your officiating career, you've probably had downtime like this in between games and that kind of thing. Right. So it's really different.
Absolutely. And also too, we're usually now working like 2, sometimes 3 games in the same city, which has been great for the body, the wear and tear. Everyone thinks, the glamorous things of the officiating or the hockey side, and even talking to the players, it's been nice for them, because it's tough when you go out and work, and then the next morning you're jumping on a plane, and then you're working again in another city. So having the extra, few days in a city has been great for your body, but also you need to make sure that you're doing whatever you can to keep your mind active and not going into bad spots and bad places. So that's why I try to get out and walk. I do a lot of walking. My steps are probably up over 20,000 steps a day, where, normally I do a gym, in some of the cities we don't have access to gyms, or, it's just tough to get into. So I got a lot of miles with my walking, but I enjoy it. And I put a podcast on and go out in cities.
Yeah, no, that has to be one of the parts about what you got to do is the different places, even in the midst of a pandemic, still getting to travel around like that is very interesting. What has been involved in the game for so long? And do you ever think about what's next after your officiating career for you, Kyle?
Again, it all comes back to passion. I love this game. And as far as I know, I'm focusing on what I'm doing now and just trying to continue to be a good official and get better. But after the game, I'm not sure what to do, but definitely know that I stay involved in the game, whether it's, helping out, be, some sort of officiating, a coach or helping out with Hockey Alberta or West League or the National Hockey League, whatever I kind of can find something to stay involved in the game, but I definitely sure stay involved in the game.
That's what we love to hear. And here at Alberta, we strongly support Hockey for Life, and would love to hear what that kind of means to someone like you. You've given so much back to our game with officiating. What would you say Hockey for Life means to you, Kyle?
I think it means a couple things. First and foremost, I think it means the people that do Hockey for Life are the people that are passionate. And I think we need to keep those people around as long as we can, because obviously care about the game and want what's best for the game. For me, I always take pride in giving back, and more so for like I owe it to the game. The game has given me so much. I'm very fortunate where I am. I'm very lucky, but I'm also very grateful, and I make sure I take time to give back because I think that's just important as anything else. And I want to always give back. I want the officiating to be better. I want the hockey side to be better. Whatever I can do and whatever I've learned along the way, and I've been very fortunate to learn from a lot of great people, both on the ice and off the ice. And I'm going to do whatever I can to give back to the game, especially in Hockey Alberta, because again, that's kind of where I came from, and I'm grateful for everything they've given me. And it's all about giving back and hoping I can help someone else get to where I'm at.
One last one for you, Kyle. How do you kind of feel you've progressed and changed as an official since you started out? Because imagine you're the exact same now that you were when you came into the game.
No. Couple things. When I first started, there was the system, the 2 referee system really wasn't in place. So it changed from, working by yourself, and as a referee, I am. You got to be in charge. You got to be the alpha dog out there. You're the one who kind of runs the show in terms of calling the penalties and keeping the players safe. And when I say run the show, I mean, obviously as an official, I take pride in going into a game, doing my job and getting out of the rink. And I know I've done a good job, and nobody knows that I was out there. They don't even know who the referee was. I always tell players this, I don't want any attention. And, they want to be one of the 3 stars. I do not want anyone to know when I've worked the game. And that's what I take great pride in. But in terms of, when I say the show, you have to be in charge. And now in the 4-man system, you work with a partner, and it's different because you have to be consistent, and, you work as a team rather than by yourself. So that obviously took a little bit of an adjustment, but the game actually had a period and a half by myself a couple of weeks ago in LA because my partner took a puck in the chin and got knocked out with a concussion. And I remember going off the ice saying, there's no way at this level we could do a 1-man referee system. The game is just so fast, and with the removal of the 2-line pass and just how these guys skate now, it's incredible how fast they are. So you need the 2-man referee system, and also too, I've always taken great pride in being fit and, being a great skater. But now again, with the speed of the game, you have to I've changed the way I work out now. And it's all about keeping my foot speed and being agile and quick feet and stuff, because they move so quick. And I always tell people too, we don't have football where there's an out of bounds. If they're coming at me, I can just, jump through. I can't morph through the boards. I got to get out of the way. And, we got some big bodies like Zdeno Char, and they're big guys. They'll run me over. So I got to make sure I'm doing everything I can in terms of my off-ice fitness, and to make sure that I'm staying out of the way, and also keeping optimal seconds, which I need in my job to make the correct call. So those are 2 things. And then I think too, as you get older, you have to just focus more on nutrition and watch your eating more, because obviously metabolism slows down, and you gotta be out there with, like I said, these great athletes. And, I'm 40 now, and some of these guys were 18 years. It wasn't too long ago. I remember starting out as a 28-year-old and thinking, these guys, but now I'm like, holy man, I'm getting older, but I still want to go for a long time. So I have to make sure that I do everything I can to keep up with them.
That was a fantastic response, Kyle. And that pretty much wraps it up for me. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. It was a tremendous honor to speak with you, and it was a pleasure hearing your story, and we look forward to seeing you on the ice again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, and good luck to you guys up there. I hope everyone gets back on the ice soon.
Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Take care.
And thank you to Kyle for taking the time to sit down with us. I believe he actually was in New York when he did that interview, so obviously a very busy guy. And between Kyle and Lacey, it just goes to show once again what Hockey for Life really means and the places the game can take you no matter how you're involved. And so with that comes the end of another episode of Center Ice. A huge thank you one more time to officials Lacey Senuk and Kyle Rehman, and to our intern Tyler, who absolutely nailed both interviews. Again, congratulations Tyler too on graduating. Can't wait to see what's in store for you. And of course, can't forget producer Steve, who's always working hard behind the scenes to keep this thing rolling. And because this episode is going to come out just a few days before Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day to all the hardworking moms out there. Lastly, thank you once again to you for tuning in. I'm Ted Emmett, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Center Ice Podcast. For this episode and more, head to hockeyalberta.ca. If there's a topic you'd like covered on an upcoming episode, email info@hockeyalberta.ca.